Good morning, folks. I'm out here Saturday morning enjoying the sun coming up, and I thought I'd do a little something different today. Uh, I ran into a couple new drivers this week, and they totally clueless. So I thought I'd give some trucker tips for new drivers. Well, here's one. You're trying to slide your tandems. You've pulled the pin, but the tandems aren't sliding. Um, a lot of times, if you back up an inch or two and then try and pull forward, that'll break them free. But if they are rusted solid, which some of these older trailers are, you get going about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And if your truck has a trolley brake, you slowly put the trolley brake on. And a lot of times that'll snap it free. But you got to be careful when you do this so that you don't slam to the back of the trailer. Because that could mess up your freight that's in the back of the trailer. So that's a tip. Another tip is if you're in a really tight spot and you're trying to back in and it's really, really, really tight, believe it or not, if you slide the tandems to the rear, that helps you get into that spot. And the reason why is you have no trailer swing. So wherever those tires are at is right where the end of the trailer is at. And so it makes it a little bit easier to get into that spot. Not everyone likes that. Some people like to put the tandems all the way forward in a tight spot and do it that way. Either way, you have to figure out what works for you. And for me, I like them all the way forward because I know the trailer swing, so I know how that's going to do. So when I'm in a tight spot, I always put my tandems all the way forward. Now, my buddy Johnny does the opposite. He puts them all the way to the rear, and it works for him. So you're going to have to figure out what works for you. Just remember, if you're under a heavy load and you've scaled that load, you just remember that once you do that, you need to put the tandems back in the hole that you scaled it at. So a good way to do that is just have a little bit of whiteout and just put a dot on the tandem bar where that pin was coming out, what hole that pin was coming out. That way you know exactly what pin to put it back into. Here's another tip. You're driving along and you're coming up into congestion. A lot of times, if you move to the second to the right lane, that's the middle lane, you avoid a lot of that stop and go traffic. Now, of course, if you're getting ready to get off on an exit like 2-3 miles up the road, you want to stay in that lane. But that kind of helps you get through some of that congestion. Now, also remember, I don't know if you know about this. If you're a new driver, you've probably never heard of it. It's the Smith system. You can look that up online and research that. It actually works. As strange as it sounds, that system actually does work. And I've used it for 21 years. I can't tell you enough how much that does work. Now, of course, with all the new vehicles, because you've already seen the video I put out earlier this week where they put me in a brand new Mack Anthem. On digital display, if you look to the left on that middle console digital display where your speed limit is at and where you see what speed you're going, it will tell you what the car in front of you, what speed they are going. I kind of noticed that this week because, yeah, ADHD, I have a space shuttle that I'm driving, right? So that can allow you to adjust to the traffic. Now, of course, if you're on ice and snow, you want to increase your stopping distance as far as you can increase it, really, because you never know when you're going to hit an icy patch and you're going to get squirrely. Um, a couple other things I've noticed is the newer drivers that I've talked to, they haven't a clue about how much money they are spending in the truck stops. Okay? So, if you're new to trucking, one of the very first things you want to do is any truck stop that you fuel at, that each company has their preferred, either Pilot or Love's, or a mom and pop or whatever. So each one of those truck stops has a loyalty card. So your trainer should have told you this, but if they didn't, uh, whatever truck stop that you fuel at, you want to get a loyalty card for. Because what you do is you build up points on that loyalty card, which can pay for scales, it can pay for showers, it can even build points up so you can buy things in the truck stop store. And so you want to do that, because that's a gimme, right? That's just a gimme. And it takes a long time to build up points. So you want to make sure that you keep that card in a safe place, because it unfortunately there are people who are working at the truck stops who will steal your points off your card. So whenever you use points on your card, you always want to check the balance at the bottom of the receipt to make sure they didn't zero out all your points, because for them those points equal money, and so they'll take those points off if they get a chance. So always ask for a receipt. Another thing that will help you out is I keep little fat notebooks for every state. When I was driving over the road, I had a little fat notebook for every state, and I would write on the cover of it what state that was. So every time I went to a customer, and let's be real, the Qualcomm directions suck. Okay, they do. They suck. So a lot of times you have to use a trucker's GPS or your own instincts to find the place. And so whenever I got into a situation like that, I would write down, for every customer I ever went to, I would write down the directions to that place in that little fat notebook. Okay? And I would keep that in a little box. So for all 48 contingent states, I had a notebook for that state. So every customer that I went to, I had it written down. How to get in there, how to get out of there, right? Because let's be real. When you go to New York or Chicago, a lot of times you got one way into the customer and another way out, right? So this will help you. I also got a little compass that stuck to my dash, because sometimes the Qualcomm directions will say turn east, turn west, turn north, turn south, and these people that are in the offices that are writing these directions, they're not aware of the fact that you have no earthly idea which way, when you come off the interstate, you have no earthly idea which way is east, west, north, or south. Okay, when you get onto these back roads, you don't know. You're not from there. So that really helped me in certain situations, especially with Swift. Swift was notorious when I drove for them on the directions to say turn west, turn east, turn north, turn south. I don't know which way is east, west, north, or south. Okay, so that always helped me. A lot of times on the directions also, it will say get off the interstate. You come off the ramp, and the ramp splits, and it doesn't tell you which way to go on that Y. So you just kind of got to go with your instincts there, or go with your trucker GPS. And so I would make a little note of that. Y left, Y right. Okay. If you're running teams, always try and split the day into 12-hour shifts. That way, each one of you gets 12 hours on the clock. So you want to try and maintain a steady shift like that. So let's say you start at 3 o'clock in the morning, you will go 12 hours, and then your partner will come on and go until 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to have one person running all night shift and one person running all day shift. You want to split that. So you want to try and split the night in half between the two of you. That way, and then you stay on that schedule no matter what. You stay on that schedule. That way, the two of you have a steady schedule, and you both have a little bit of the daylight, and you both have a little bit of the nighttime. Okay, and that really, really helps as far as your melatonin and being able to sleep when it's your turn to sleep. Now, what I did when I ran teams for a while, whenever we went to split our shift, in other words, I'm coming off the shift and he's coming on the shift. Whenever that happened, we would stop at the truck stop, and we would take that half hour to an hour to split shifts, and we would take our showers and eat either our breakfast or our dinner, and then we would go on. Okay, this works really well if you do that. So that's my tip for teams. Try and stay on a regular schedule. Now, you're starting to run low on hours because you've been running 10 to 14 hours a day, and here it is, it's the 6th day, and you know you're going to run out of hours. You need to communicate that with dispatch. Okay, that way dispatch knows that you're going to stop and do your 34. A lot of times when this happens, dispatch will try and route you to a place that's out in the middle of nowhere. So you're sitting out in the middle of nowhere. You know, there's no toilet, there's no bathroom, there's nothing. So what I did was I went to Walmart and I bought myself a little Seaflow toilet. So I had a little Seaflow toilet, it's a cassette toilet, and I kept it on the truck. That way, if I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere, I at least have a toilet, right? Now, and it's easy to change that out and rinse that out and dump it, because pretty much every rest area has got an RV dump, or there's an RV dump at the truck stop. Okay, so you can take it into the rest area and dump it in the toilet. Okay, so that always worked for me. Another thing I kept on the truck was I kept wet ones, and I kept my own bar soap, my own towel, my own washcloth, and a bucket, and I kept about 2 or 3 gallons of water. Okay, so with about a half a gallon of water, I can wash up fairly well. No, it's not a shower, but it is a wash up, and I can continue on, okay, to the next day or until I get to a truck stop in order to take a shower. My biggest tip is to save money as much as you can, is when you go on your first home time, you want to go to the grocery store and buy things that you can cook relatively easy in the microwave or in a little lunchbox cooker on the truck. That will save you so much money, and it will stop you from being on the trend. For most new truck drivers, they start out, they're running their butts off, they're running into truck stops, they're just grabbing whatever and they're going. And this sets you up for obesity and heart attack. Okay, so you want to be able, and honestly, the first time that you go to a different state and you drink the water there, you're going to have what we call traveler's disease. And for those who don't know, that means that your body is going to reject the water that you've been drinking or the coffee that you've been drinking, which has the local water there, and you're going to be in the bathroom with explosive Taco Bell type diarrhea. Okay, and to avoid that, you want to try and get water from your home, which will last you to make your coffee, and do as much as you can to minimize your exposure to switching waters, especially drinking water. A good way to do that is just only buy a certain brand of gallon water out of the truck stops, okay? Because you're going to be buying water out of the truck stops. So only buy a certain brand. Don't switch that brand, because each brand has got a different way that they do the water. And so if you keep switching up the brands, you're doing the same thing as just drinking the local municipality water. Okay? And I don't know why that is, but I found that out to be very, very true. Another thing to keep on the truck is just a small little broom and dustpan. Okay? You want to keep your truck as clean as possible. The reason for this is not because you like a clean truck, okay? The reason you keep the truck as clean as possible is it helps mitigate you getting bed bugs, and it also helps mitigate you getting roaches. So if the truck is clean, the likelihood of you getting pests in the truck is a lot lower than if the truck is full of trash, okay? Another thing is, if you have trash on your dash, or if you have trash on the floorboard, which can be seen by DOT when you pull into the scale, they're going to pull you to the back. Because if the truck looks trashy to them as you pull into the scale, obviously you're not taking care of the truck, and a lot of times they will pull you around to the back, and it's more likely that you will get an inspection because you have a dirty dash or a dirty floorboard. So just keep a little broom and a little dustpan, and once or twice a day do a little sweep out. You'd be amazed how much dirt and dust you pick up on the road. You really will, especially out west when you go through a dust storm. It's just absolutely horrendous. So let's go over what I say you should have on the truck. Number one, you should have some kind of atlas. This is a hard copy atlas in case you get into an area where you have no cell signal, which that happens, and you're trying to find a place. So you want a hard copy atlas so you can route yourself. Okay? I recommend McNally's Motor Carrier Atlas laminated. And the reason you want it laminated, spills happen. You don't lose that atlas, okay? And laminated lasts a long time. Number two, several pins, several like little teeny little, the fat little notebooks. Keep those, okay? Because you're going to use those. Believe it or not, you're going to use those. Number three, a spare power cord for your phone or your tablet. Whatever kind of entertainment you use. I know some people use laptops, some people just use their phones, some people have tablets. You want an extra power cord for that. The reason being is, in the truck, the power cords tend to get kinked and they go bad, and then now you're searching around trying to find a power cord, and a lot of times the truck stops don't have the power cord you're looking for. So always keep a spare power cord on the truck. Number 3, tools. You want a cheater bar. This could be a small galvanized bar from a fence, which is what I have. This is for stubborn trailer doors, especially with containers. Okay. And it's just a good cheater bar that if you're having a problem getting under a trailer, you can use that bar to lift up the back of the fifth wheel so you can slide under the trailer a little bit easier. So a cheater bar. Basic tools: hammer, screwdrivers, wire cutters, just basic tools. I have not found that I needed to buy a nail puller, but some of these shippers and receivers now no longer have nail pullers available, so you might need to get a nail puller. Number 4, clothes. You want at least 5 to 6 sets of work clothes. Okay, this does not include your sleeping clothes. I'm talking work clothes. That means, 5 or 6 pairs of jeans, 5 or 6 t-shirts or sweatshirts, whatever you wear, you want 5 or 6 of them. Okay? Food. You want at least 2 to 3 weeks of food on the truck. Now, I know that sounds crazy. If you're running teams, you might not want to have that much. You might want to have only a week. But it will save you buku bucks in the end. Some way to cook your food, whether it be a small microwave, a little lunchbox cooker, a coffee pot, however, okay? You want to have that on the truck. I can't say this enough. Whiteout, chalk. Whiteout, you can use whiteout, like I said earlier, on the tandems to put a little mark on the tandem so you know where the pin was at when you're backing into a tight spot, to fixing a mess up on paperwork. So a little whiteout. Always have a little bit of whiteout on hand. Your basic soaps, shampoos, toothpaste, toothbrush, towel, washcloth. This is all simple stuff, but people don't think about it. Now, some truckers like to actually fix their bed up like it's an actual bed. But if you're brand new into the business, I highly recommend that you just go buy a sleeping bag and a pillow, and that will do you until you're ready, to spend money on actual bedding. And measure the bed, because some of the beds are not standard twins and some of them are not even a standard full. So you have to, get sheets that will fit the truck bed. Okay? Yeah, this is just some of my tips. I know I went through a lot there, but always try and remember that, especially if you're taking medications, always try and keep a month to 2 months supply on the truck of your medications, because you're not going to be able to get into a pharmacy somewhere to pick up your medications. So if you're on high blood pressure meds, you want to have a month to 2 months available at all times on the truck. If you wear glasses, DOT requires that you keep a spare pair of glasses on the truck. I highly recommend you keep 2 spare pairs, because if you break your glasses, it can be a while before you get to, like in America's Best, in order to get new glasses, and then it'll take a week or 2 for them to come in. So you always want to keep at least 1 to 2 spare pair of glasses on the truck. Same thing with sunglasses. If you're wearing the polarized sunglasses, always keep 1 to 2 pair extra on the truck, just in case you break a pair. It happens. Good set of gloves. You always want to keep a good set of gloves. I can't tell you how many times I've been messing around with something on the truck or in the trailer, and because I had gloves on, I did not slice my hand. Instead, I sliced the glove. Always, always keep a good pair of gloves on the truck. I like the fingerless gloves. Other guys like the full hand gloves. And yeah, that's some of my tips for new drivers. Try, especially if you're brand new, try and listen to everything your trainer tells you, and try and write things down if you can. I mean, if you're driving, obviously you can't, but you can sit down that evening and write it all down. You know, those notes will, if you review them later on, they will help you when you get into a situation when you're on your own truck. They will help you in that situation. Understandably, a lot of trainers do not have, like I do, 21 years of experience, and so they're not going to tell you a lot of the little tips and tricks of the trade. And I can't tell you just off the top of my head little tips and tricks of the trade, because I just do it. And so that's why I'm not a good trainer. Okay, that's why I'm not a trainer, is because I just do what I need to do and I get it done. Now, in certain situations, I can teach somebody, but most of the time, the little tips and tricks of the trade, you just learn as you go along. So don't be scared if right at first you don't figure out backing, or you're terrified of rush hour traffic. Trust me when I tell you, I absolutely hate rush hour traffic. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. I can't tell you enough how much I hate it. Okay? But little tips of the trade is, you give yourself as much room as you can to stop. You adjust that stopping distance according to what load you're pulling. You adjust how you drive according to what you're hauling. So if you're hauling copper wire, you're going to drive different from somebody who's hauling liquid. Okay, if you're hauling something that's top heavy, you're going to drive different from somebody who's just hauling regular freight. So it's just an adjustment every time you get in the truck. When you do like your pre-trip, you want to do it exactly the same way every time. The reason I say do it exactly the same way every time is because you get yourself then into a routine, and if you miss something, you know it immediately because you skipped a step. And it will trigger in your brain immediately, because here we go, here's another routine. So do it the same way, the same time, every time. Okay, if you hook up the same way, you do it the same way every time, the likelihood of you dropping a trailer or forgetting to lock the pins on the trailer or anything of this nature is going to be minimized, because you're doing it the same way every time. And I've been rambling here for almost 30 minutes. So I hope that helps some of you new drivers out there. Welcome to the industry. Please try, whenever you get a chance, to talk to some of the older drivers, and listen. If you're in the truck stop, in the restaurant, listen. Okay, because a lot of times these older drivers will be talking about, trucker stories, and some of them are very interesting and will have you laughing, and other ones are very tragic. So welcome to the industry, and I hope I helped you a little bit. And as we say out here on the road, bicycle.